Welcome to CSX Toledo Sub Action Volume 2. Here at the Fairview Drive in Carlisle, Ohio, we observe southbound steel train B522, a daily steel between Detroit, Michigan and Middletown, Ohio, heads southbound with two ET-44s for power. CSX train L424 splits the B&O position light signals at the south end of what was the Tip City siding. At this point, by the time of the filming, the Tip City siding had been completely removed, but the signals are still standing. CSX train M350 with two YN3 GEs, including a Dash 8 second, heads northbound through the night in Troy, Ohio. M350 is daily Cincinnati, Ohio to Chicago, Illinois. Intermodal train I-140, daily Fairburn, Georgia, to North Baltimore, Ohio, follows on the heels of M350. At the time of this video's release, I-140 would turn into I-142 and start originating out of Jacksonville, Florida's Duval Yard. On a cool morning in Hamilton, Ohio, the old B&O depot can be seen in its new resting place along Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Shortly, northbound loaded autorack train M276, daily Louisville, Kentucky, to Baltimore, Maryland's Curtis Yard appears. That big open area to the right over there is where the CSX Indianapolis line sub begins on towards Indianapolis, and also the former site of where the B&O depot used to stand before getting relocated. An unidentified CSX manifest speeds southbound through Carlisle on his way towards Cincinnati. CSX manifest M351, daily Chicago to Cincinnati, Ohio, flies south through Carlisle, Ohio. A Sperry Rail truck expects the main line, heading south to Carlisle. He'll stop at the south end on the main line to let I-141 run around him, who currently has a red over green, medium clear, medium speed through the turnout, then proceed approaching the next signal, not exceeding medium speed. Shortly, I-141 then shows up. I-141 is daily intermodal out of North Baltimore, Ohio, bound for Jacksonville, Florida. A CSX Autorack train heads south over the Miami Chapel Crossing, just south of MC Cabin, on the south side of Dayton, Ohio. I-141 slowly comes off of the Willard Sub and turns south onto the Toledo Sub at Deshler, Ohio. I-141 is daily North Baltimore, Ohio to Jacksonville, Florida containers with a work stop at Queensgate Yard in Cincinnati. B522, daily Detroit, Michigan to Middletown, Ohio, steel slab loads and coil empties, follows closely on the heels of I-141 out of Deshler. With a rare SD40-2 liter, M558, daily Cincinnati to Willard, heads north out of Deshler and will soon be turning east onto the Willard Sub at the Deshler Crossroads Park, about a half-mile north of here. Loaded ethanol train B639 approaches Leipzig, but will have to stop to wait for a westbound NS manifest on the Fostoria district. The manifest is being led with UP and BNSF power. After the NS manifest clears, B639 with NS and CP power, heads south on his way towards Tampa, Florida. A CSX local with a single AC-44CW heads south across NS Tower at Lima, Ohio. M511 follows said local south across NS Tower. There is no NS Tower anymore, but CSX still calls the diamond with the CF&E NS Tower. After M511 clears, a CF&E light engine local heads eastbound across the diamond, presumably over to the I&O yard. The B&O CPL at the north end of Troy siding lets us know that an approaching CSX northbound is coming. Soon after, it's a local running long hood forward with a nice cut of cars. A few of these will be dropped up near a customer in Piqua, Ohio. We are treated to something rare this far south in Ohio, push-pull service, with a GP38 on one end and another GP38 on the other. The southbound signal at the north end of Troy siding tells that M511, daily Detroit, Michigan to Cincinnati, Ohio manifest is coming south. And just a little bit later, he shows up. The surprise on M511 is an XNS B32-8, originally bought by the Southern Railway, but since it didn't get delivered until after the Southern and N&W merger, it just went to NS. The Taylorsville Metro Park is another favorite rail fan location along the Toledo Sub. About a year or so ago, the crossovers here for a middle siding were removed. A clear signal at the middle Vandalia, which the railroaders still call it that way, beckons us of a southbound. This time it's P001, the CSX office car business train, on his way home back to Jacksonville after touring the eastern coast. A GP38 leads a CSX local northbound through Tip. The water tower in Troy is always a nice view, especially from the Miami River. Here, a group of rail fans have gathered on the north side of Troy to watch northbound manifest L424, daily Cincinnati, Ohio to Lima, Ohio. This is really a road local, as now all the locals run under the L symbol. In the lead today is CSX 1897, the new Monon Heritage Unit. An NS northbound, utilizing trackage rights on the CSX Toledo Sub, heads northbound through Hamilton and by the old location of the B&O depot. The track off in the far distance is the CSX Indianapolis Sub to Indianapolis, Indiana. L425, a road local from Connersville to Cincinnati turn, takes its turn south after the NS grain train clears, with an ICMD lash-up. A CSX YN2 leads I-141 southbound at Trenton. I-141 is daily North Baltimore, Ohio to Jacksonville. On a nice sunny day in Carlisle, Ohio, a CSX Autorack train flies northbound. CSX train M561 heads southbound to the north end of Troy Siding. Leading the way is CSXT 1853, the New York Central Heritage Unit. This train had ran into an issue with one of their cars just south of Lima and had to set it off at a storage track just north of Wapakoneta earlier in the day, which would explain the nighttime arrival through. Another southbound manifest, who got held up behind 561, follows closely behind on his way into. On a nice bright evening, we witness I-142 heading northbound to MC Cabin in Dayton, Ohio. The track in the foreground is the NS Dayton. M510 follows closely on the heels of 142 at MC Cabin. Trailing fourth out is one of Canadian Pacific's Script Heritage. At Butler Street interlocking in Hamilton, Ohio, we see the signal on track 1 light up with an approach. Shortly thereafter, I-142, Daly Jacksonville, Florida to North Baltimore, Ohio, comes northbound. Close behind I-142 is an NS Intermodal, number 262, Daily Cincinnati to Chicago, Illinois Intermodal, and will hop on the NS Newcastle at New. A CSX local heads northbound at Butler Street, returning to New River Yard, a few miles to. A little later, NS Train 123 turns off of the Toledo Sub at Butler Street and hops back on to Newcastle District running. Leading the way is 1066, the New York Central Heritage Unit. And fourth out is an NS SD40-2. B522, daily Detroit, Michigan to Middletown, Ohio, steel slab loads and steel coil empties, heads south at a defect detector just south of I-142 heads northbound at MC Cabin on the south end of Dayton, Ohio. A little bit later, we witness I-141, the southbound counterpart to I-142, also passing the same location at MC Cabin in Dayton. After I-141 clears, a northbound manifest makes its way onto the single track off Track 2 and heads north at MC. At BE 129, just south of Lima, at Eureka, a northbound local returns to Robb Avenue Yard. The YN2 GP38 is only two of YN2 EMDs left on the CSX system. This one is number 44. The B&O CPL at the former south end of Tip City Siding is a clear signal warning us of train M508 Cincinnati, Ohio to Detroit, Michigan, heading northbound. In the lead is CSX 1852, the Western Maryland Heritage Unit, in the white and red. Led by a pair of CN-EMDs and a CSX YN2, northbound empty ethanol train B848 prepares to cross the river in Troy. On a warm sunny day, M561 is seen using the southeast connector to turn south onto the Toledo Sub at the Deshler Crossroads. A CPGE and a Union Pacific EMD lead an empty ethanol train north off the Toledo Sub and turn west onto the Garrett Sub to head back. The 4 Bauer on ethanol trains coming on and off the Toledo Sub is a pretty Our first bit of bonus footage will be from Fostoria, Ohio. CSX train I-003 threads his way west slowly through the rail park. I-003 is daily Port Newark, New Jersey. Hot on the heels of I-003 is westbound intermodal train I. This Chambersburg, Pennsylvania to Bedford Park, Illinois intermodal is being led by CSX T 1875, painted in the P&L. Eastbound intermodal and autorack train I-168, Chicago, Illinois to Port Newark, New Jersey, heads east. I-165 passes westbound at the same time. I-165 is really CPKC train 132 from Montreal, Quebec to Chicago, Illinois, but runs under CSX symbol I-165 from Buffalo, New York to Schiller Park in Chicago on CSX. B522 daily steel slab loads and steel coil empties out of Detroit, bound for Middletown, Ohio, comes south and turns west at the rail park onto the Willard Sub. At Deshler, Ohio, he'll turn south onto the B158, empty coke off the CN at Gary, Indiana, heads eastbound past the rail park in Fostoria on the Willard Sub, ultimately to his destination in Deshler, Pennsylvania. And at the same time, he meets his westbound counterpart, B157, loaded coke from Deshler, Pennsylvania, going back to the CN in Gary. Hotshot intermodal I-018, daily Chicago, Illinois to Baltimore, Maryland, heads east past the rail park. The attention grabber on this train is the flared rebuilt SD-70. C509, loaded coal out of Peach Creek, West Virginia, heads northbound past the rail park in Fostoria on the CSX Pemberville sub. His destination will be Toledo, Ohio. This train will go back south in a day or two as empty train E5. E640 then takes his turn southbound on the Pemberville sub. In a minute, he'll turn east onto the Willard sub and head towards Willard, Ohio, and back to Pennsylvania. X370, an extra train of M370, heads eastbound past the rail park in Fostoria. This train is Chicago, Illinois to Cumberland, Maryland manifest, and with an SD70 AC rebuilt leader, followed by a YN2 AC40. Our last piece of bonus footage will be some from Marion, Ohio. Here, NS Train 28N heads south on the Sandusky District. Of note, with the NS 8102 Pennsylvania NS 266 heads south at the Marion Depot with a single BNSF GEVO. 266 is daily Chicago. NS Intermodal 273 glides by the Marion Union Station on his way. A quad of Union Pacifics heads a manifest freight westbound on the Indy sub out of Marion. This train is taking the connection here at Marion and coming off of the Columbus sub. 171 flies southbound on the Sandusky District past the Marion Depot. The second SD40-2 that's trailing fourth would end up being dropped off at Watkins Yard. CSX ethanol train B651 heads south on the CSX Columbus Sub, with a KCS Ace on the point and a BNSF Gevo on the rear, headed B669 with CN Power heads south on the Columbus Sub. This train is bound for North. Thank you for following along on CSX Toledo Sub Action Volume 2. As an extra piece, here's CSX 1877 C&EI Heritage Unit leading M331 westbound through